Welcome back. Well, yesterday we spoke about the items that I brought home. That was the first half of our haul video. It was finders, keepers, and the why this and not that videos. So yesterday was why this. You saw the pieces that I brought with me. Now today you're going to take a look at the pieces that I left behind, and here. All right, come on up. And the photobomb kitty wants attention. It's been a very cold, drizzly, gray day. Exactly the kind of day that he likes to sit in somebody's lap. I know it was cold. So this is his snuggle day. And we will be right back. All right, they're back. Just so you know. Here, come on. I'm going to put you down. Go ahead. Time to move. There we go. Okay. Now I have to be sure that nobody decides I'm trying to entice children over to my channel with a little photobomb kitty. So before we get started, how about we check in with our friends from Portugal? For those of you who are not familiar, and I'm sure most of you are, but we've always got newcomers. The book is English as She Is Spoke. It was written by a couple of Portuguese gentlemen, published in 1855, and these delightful gentlemen did not speak a single word of English, as you will see. But it didn't stop them from creating a phrase book so that when their countrymen came into an English-speaking land, they would just fit right in seamlessly with the rest of us. So today we're going to take a look at the walk. I know you're wondering, how can they screw up a walk? Oh, stay tuned. Will you and take a walk with me? Go through that meadow. Who the country is beautiful, who the trees are thick. Sit down us to the shade. Do you know these ladies who come from our side? It seems me who they look where to sit down ones. Leave them this bench. It seems me that the corn does push already. You hear the birds gurgling? Which pleasure, which charm. I am tired. We have done a great walk. Well, not much of a walk, and still they managed to make a mess of it. Well, you've already seen the pieces that I brought home with me from Finders Keepers. And yesterday I mistakenly said that they were like $3 and change. The reason for that is they don't give you an itemized receipt at Finders Keepers. They take the price off each individual item and they keep that tag. And then what you get is your bag full of items and a receipt with one figure on it, and that's the total. So you don't get a breakdown. Now, I've been through there twice, so I know better, and next time I'm going to have to remember to snap pictures of my purchases with the price tags on them, so I'll know what I paid for each item. The first time I went there, I was just so wonderfully excited that I wasn't really troubled about that. And of course, I did not know I wouldn't be getting an itemized receipt or that I wouldn't be keeping some sort of price tag on the item. This last time, I did know better, still managed to screw it up because I did not snap pictures. So I don't have an exact record of what I paid for each piece. But I did the math, and it was an average of $2.75. So what this means is this Finders Keepers shop has prices that are consistent with what we get from the thrift stores. $2.75. I've seen higher prices at thrift stores. So one of the things I've done with the slideshow that I've made for you is I've captured the item, and then I've gone back in and captured the price tag. And this is not just so you'll see what the item cost, but so you can get some idea of how they structure their prices. Each price tag has several dates, and I believe it's 4 dates, and then 4 prices. The item first goes on the shelf at full price. So it'll go on the shelf and it'll be $6.95. And then 3 weeks later, it will drop down to like $5.42. 3 weeks after that, it will drop down. And 3 weeks after that, it will drop down. Now, oh, and by the way, I'm just approximating when I say 3 weeks. Not having a price tag, I've never actually had it to calculate the time frame and the formula. And I don't know if each individual consignment seller has their own time frame and their own formula. Certainly, some of the pieces there are not priced like this. And you will see that when we come to the bowls. So in the back of your mind, remember, when we go to the bowls, you'll see they just have a fixed price, not these graduated prices. So I really need to take a closer look at this and see exactly how it works, just because it has me curious. So you'll see the item, you'll see the price, and because everything I got that I showed you yesterday was all Asian, mostly Japanese, but there was one set of Chinese pieces. Most of what I am showing you is Asian. There are a few pieces that are not Asian, but most of it is Asian, so you can get sort of a head-to-head comparison. So let's take a look at the slideshow. And like I did before, I'm giving you some lively music. Here you go. Okay, now you've had a chance to see everything that I passed up. Now, personally, I think that is just as instructive, even more so sometimes, than knowing what I brought with me. Also, seeing the prices, you can clearly see it was not a question of passing them up because they were too expensive. They were not. Those pieces were all very reasonably priced. Some of them, I would have to say, were pretty much dirt cheap for what they were. It was a question of what I believe I can sell quickly, good turns, and what my buyers like. It's not to say my buyers don't like Chinese pieces. I have a lot of buyers who do like Chinese pieces. But a lot of those Chinese pieces that you saw in the slideshow are vintage, but not antique. And they're on the more modern side of vintage. I don't think I saw anything in there that was any later than 2000, which would mean I could sell it on Etsy as vintage. Most of them were in the 1980s, 1990s range. Nothing wrong with that. It's good quality modern Chinese porcelain. Now, even modern Chinese porcelain is made in much the same way that antique Chinese porcelain was made. They very often use designs that are virtually identical, designs that have been unchanged in China for hundreds of years. But I chose to go after a lot of mid-century Japanese salt shakers, basically. That's simply what I grabbed. If some of those pieces are there the next time I'm at Finders Keepers, I will probably scoop a couple up. And as I say, it's not that they were bad pieces. It's not that they were bad deals. It's just a question of what my buyers are interested in. And that, if you are a reseller, is a piece of advice I would just gladly give you, because you need to know your own market. My market is small porcelain pieces. Larger, more expensive pieces are always going to be harder to unload. Oh my goodness, it makes it sound like, we're throwing out trash. Unload. Ooh. They're going to be harder to sell. They will stay on your shelf if you have a brick and mortar shop. They will stay in your listings if you're selling online for longer periods than the smaller pieces that you can turn more quickly at lower prices. Right now, that is primarily what I'm interested in, is moving things at reasonable prices, because I want to make these things available. I know that because I read the comments people post on these videos. I know that at $2.75, a lot of you are saying, my goodness, if only my thrift stores sold things so inexpensively. And I go over and watch Ashley Rosé on her channel. And in fact, I was watching her earlier today, a thrift video where she came across this gorgeous torchère lamp, $165. And I thought, oh, I love that lamp. Would I pay $165 for it? No way. Around here, I could get that same lamp for 40 bucks. Absolutely. Depends on your market. Depends on who the buyers are, who the sellers are, and what your market is. So that's one of the things, you have to know your own market. So for me, the salt and pepper shakers are what I run off with this week. Could be something else next week. And that might depend on what sells in my Etsy shop in the meantime. I could find that by the end of the week, I don't have a single coffee mug left, and I will be saying, I need to get some coffee mugs. But that's part of the trick, to know what your buyers want, to know what you can sell, and it can change at different times of year too. But back to the stuff that I left behind, because I did want to talk about that a little more. As I say, it can be just as instructive as the stuff that I took. If you have a good quality piece and you have a very reasonable price, why would it stay behind? I'm wondering if you noticed a pattern in those pieces. Did you happen to notice how many of them were blue and white Chinese vases? A lot. And they were blue and white Chinese vases from a period about in 1980, 1990. Good pieces, good prices. But that is something that, although the smaller items from that period sell very well for me, the larger items do not. They probably and ethnically aware. So these are people who will look at a Japanese piece, a Chinese piece, a South American piece, a Middle Eastern piece, and not say, oh, this is something outside of my scope. I do not understand it. They will look at this and say, I'm not unfamiliar with this culture. I would like a piece. This is diverse. This is ethnically interesting, etc. Whereas 50 years ago, we were still locked into that very sort of European-based mentality, and the European pieces were the ones that were considered the classics. Things are changing now. Our world is more diverse. Our tastes are more diverse. So Asian porcelain is on the rise. European porcelain. Now, mind you, this is except for the very finest pieces. The very finest pieces are always going to hold their value. We're talking about pieces that you will buy and sell at thrift store prices, but they are moving down the ladder. So obviously, you're going to want to get pieces that are escalating in value and not dropping. That's one of the reasons that I grab mid-century Japanese pieces whenever I can find them. Older pieces marked Nippon, Noritake, because those pieces, especially the pieces from the 20s and 30s, some of them just have gorgeous Art Deco lines. Those are selling, no question about it. Does this mean I won't buy European china? Not at all. The last time I was at Finders Keepers, I grabbed a couple of European sets. Unfortunately, I have to admit this, the sets I got were, well, the designs are remarkably close to Imari china from Japan. They really have a decidedly Asian feel to them. But again, Irish china, English china, well-made pieces. Sure, price was good. I grabbed them. They came home with me. This time out, Japanese salt and pepper shakers. Next time, maybe some of those Chinese vases. It depends. They are saleable, and that's the thing. They are saleable, but they won't sell as quickly as the little salt and pepper shakers because they don't have the same market. Keep in mind, what you want to do is determine what your market is. If you're selling in a brick and mortar facility, you want to know what the market in your area is. If you are, for example, in Nebraska, what do folks in Nebraska want? If you are in southern Pennsylvania, what do the folks here want? And I can certainly tell you that we are flooded with things that are very desirable in other parts of the country. So a huge amount of this is geography. So now that you saw what came with me, you saw what was left behind, and you know that if it's still there later, it'll probably eventually come home with me. They were nice pieces. I didn't photograph the Drek for you. I only photographed pieces that I looked at and thought, maybe I might take this with me. So they were pieces that I was considering. There were a lot of pieces that, oh my goodness, you couldn't pay me to take them. But it's not what I'm sharing with you because I want you to look at that higher aesthetic. I'm sure we can all tell the goodies from the junk. Now it's a question of weeding through the goodies so that we're scooping out the best of the goodies, getting the best deal, and we know enough to leave the garbage behind. Okay, next week, I'm going to do something that I've done before. I got a question from a viewer this weekend, and she wanted to know what kitsch was. So next weekend on Saturday, we are going to talk about kitsch, what it is and why you need to start tossing a little bit of kitsch into your decorating. I promise I'll make it worth your while. I'll make a believer out of you. Say goodbye, Photobomb Kitty. All right. All right, come here. All right, yes, here. There you go. Say goodbye. No, he just wants to be petted. All right, I will be here next week. He will be here next week. Meantime, have a great week, everyone. We'll see you soon.